Guys, is it just me, or are hobbies completely ruined by collectors, whales, and internet culture nowadays? We briefly went on a side quest talking about this in the SUV Epidemic last week, which you can watch after this video, but legit, I couldn't stop thinking about this topic, which is why I'm now making a whole video on this. Like, we got the competitive, ranked, sweaty scalper nerds who camp out not even just one night, but even multiple nights, sometimes to buy something that wasn't even limited edition. And if that's not the epitome of like wasted time or peak FOMO culture, I don't know what else to say.
Can't believe you bums actually waited outside for a week for this freaking
I thought Labubus and Stanley Cups were going to be as bad as it got, but at least Stanley Cups still served a functional purpose. But legit, every new collectible trend I see on TikTok nowadays is literally just rebranded AliExpress landfill slop. Like, I finally understand what people mean when they call these trends recession indicators, because by nature that's what it means. It's full-grown adults who basically turn to flexing children's toys and trading cards to fill the luxury void in their life. Now, the problem with this is that it deprives actual children and parents of children trying to buy and enjoy these hobbies at affordable prices, since this obsessive collector culture created by adults with far more purchasing power than, well, obviously a kid, has made it where these hobbies are now grown-up exclusive because it has basically priced out the original demographic of children. Like, I still cannot get over how sad it is that there are grown-ass men fighting out in front of Pokemon vending machines, camping out in front of them overnight, or like just waiting until employees restock them. And like, speaking of employees and restocking, shout out Target for actually just cutting open the seals on boxes, because these scalpers and their desire to flip these unopened, pristine condition boxes.
Target cutting the seal at the counter. Yes, it looks like it's finally happening more and more. So we've actually seen tons of general managers just start ripping the seal on those products before they even ring them up. Tons of collectors agreeing that this should be the norm. Compared to GameStop's strategy on Pokemon this year, which is just listing sealed product at scalper prices and beyond. $90 for Ascended bundles, by the way. I would much rather see this than this.
Like, take part of a hobby to actually be part of the hobby, not to profit off of it. I really want to emphasize this is not a hobby hate video where I'm laughing at the communities. We are only hating on scalpers and diehard collectors, and especially scalpers. I'll just throw them under the bus again, because you can never hate them enough. They are total bottom feeders of human society. It's gotten so bad that they've killed every single hobby on every corner of the internet. This is what is also currently killing the car community, because not only are dealerships scalping, there are still delusional, I know what I have, and the low ballers. And I'll get to that later this video. But so to my car enthusiast viewers, jingle jingle, please wait patiently and tag along for the dumbest FOMO singularity created by brokey kind. Chapter 1, FOMO Singularity. The internet forever changed how we interact with hobbies.
I can't be the only one seeing this. Everybody who got in late on the Swatch and AP collab is getting smoked. It's down 72%. This is what happens when you have FOMO, the fear of missing out, when you should have had FOB, the fear of being involved. I didn't want to be involved in these crazy lines. I didn't want to be involved in waiting in rain for hours. I didn't want to be involved when they were spraying mace like it was Febreze in front of the store.
It's all just FOMO culture nowadays. So what is FOMO? It means fear of missing out. Basically, people feel like they must hop onto the next biggest internet trend and make videos about it, or show off on internet and blah, blah, blah. Otherwise, if they don't, they're going to be lame and outcasted. Basically, it's like a high school hallway. It's so sad. Generally, it's getting harder and harder for me to actually feel sympathy or feel sorry for my fellow colleagues whining about their debt, because I've actually seen a few of them, more of them than I'd like to admit, in fact, get swept up by these modern FOMO culture. I do have quite a few friends and colleagues who, they showed up with the Labubu trend, they got on the Nido trend, they got on the dumplings trend. That was a big one, because me being Asian, obviously a lot of my Asian peers really like that one, because it's a cute little, it's more of a balza than it is a dumpling, but whatever, I'm not going to be like a little stickler about it. And now they've moved on to the AP swatches trend, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's the first time in my life I'll ever own like a AP watch, and it's just just like, oh my god, it's landfill slop, bro. These are 20 somethings, and some of them are even in their 30s. Some of them are pushing mid 30s, and they're doing this. Like, imagine being the CEO of these companies and these products. Like, it has to be a prank at this point. Like, it's probably a challenge between them where they're like, hey guys, who can sell the lower quality item and still get the internet and TikTok culture to buy it? We might actually live in a simulation, because after Labubus, these companies aren't even trying anymore. Whether it's Neatos, dumplings, or Happy Meal looking ass watches, just look at them. How are they in any shape or form rare and desirable? Like, much less expensive, much less scalpable. Like, am I in the crack pipe for having this take? Like, are we the only sane few who just aren't background NPCs whose sole purpose in life it is to make massive corporations rich by buying sloppity slop from them?
I have spent over $500 on the viral mystery dumplings. 3, 2, 1.
I just want to make this TikTok to let everyone know that I am throwing away this Labubu. Here's the trash, here's the Labubu. It can't even be a dog toy because of the stuffing inside.
Also, the fact that the non-rare pulls are thrown away or even destroyed confirms my sentiment. Shows that at baseline, these goods are functionally useless. Just think about it, alright? If I give you the least rare base model Stanley Cup, you actually still have a cup that serves a functional purpose. This goes for shoes too, and watches even. And sure, watches may seem useless nowadays because we all have smartphones that tell time now, but it's still a timepiece that at one point was the most portable way of telling time. They also don't require any charging, assuming you don't have a smartwatch. Even though we don't need the redundancy of time telling anymore, I still know several friends and colleagues who wear a watch out of a sentimental value, especially if it was passed down by their grandfather or father or someone else in their family. And since these are made of actual rare earth metals and polished and preserved in a way where they're meant to withstand decades, sometimes even centuries of wear and tear, these items inherently carry a more functional and noteworthy value compared to a marked up AliExpress toy that is made of the cheapest of microplastics. Most of this shit won't even make it to the end of this year. Let's not pretend half of this is going to even be around a decade later. They're so low quality that these companies could easily produce more of the rare ones, like I mentioned earlier with the dumplings. It's all about whether the company just decides to end their artificial scarcity, and that's exactly what Labubus did. The company thought the trend was going to go on longer, because they decided to produce way more. They ramped up production for all of them, the base model ones and all the rare ones. And instead of making the trend go longer, it did the exact opposite and completely killed the trend. Because once people realized, wait, the company can just make more anytime they want, so what I have that I thought was rare isn't actually rare because more are being made. Yeah, I know, shocker, you don't. This is much worse than Gen Xers with the 5-year craze of Beanie Babies, or even millennials with their few years of Funko Pops. Labubus didn't even last a full year before us Gen Zers moved on.
The whole Labubu thing was real, right? Like, I didn't just dream all that up in my head. Because I haven't heard the word Labubu in 3 months, 6 months. I can't even imagine when that was happening. Was that like 6 months ago, a year ago? It's crazy. It was literally the most important thing in the world, and I haven't heard that word in months.
It's not even just consumers who threw this away, but also suppliers and stores who discarded these, and that makes sense because they only have so much shelf space, right? Therefore, if a bunch of their inventory isn't selling anymore, it is quite literally losing the money compared to stocking something on the shelf that will actively revolve, right? Labubus aren't even worth little money, they're actually worth negative amounts of money because they're draining money from these stores. And this is further proven by online resellers who can't even sell some of the rare blind boxes at retail price anymore. This is proof that these items never inherently had any value, and its rarity was all poofed into thin air by social media. They don't have what's called a price floor. You know what happens to watches, shoes, or even Stanley Cups after the trend wanes? You still have a timepiece, a shoe that can be worn, and a tumbler that can still hold liquid. Meanwhile, modern FOMO culture has created completely functionless slop that when the trend is over, no amount of discounting will get the general public to buy buy the item anymore, like I mentioned with resellers and with stores. Myself and many others do not have a price floor for these types of goods. Even at $1, I'm still never buying any of these Nitos, Labubus, AP swatches, or whatever the next stupid gas trend is. These FOMO culture MFs talk about how the rest of us are boring for saving money, but even considering inflation, if you save $10,000, it is still mostly $10,000 by the year's end, right? What will they have in a few months from now with their $10,000 slop collectible, right? Think, TikTok, think that $10,000 slop collection will just end up in a landfill in 5 months. What will you have 5 years from now if you keep wasting tens of thousands of dollars on these trends? Me. You'll still have me posting videos making fun of these losers, since as long as there are clowns being stupid online, my epidemic slop grind might never stop. So reject landfill slop and subscribe for more epidemic slop. And like this video if you're enjoying it so far, and share it to friends to also laugh at all these goofballs, or heck, if one of your loser friends is actually taking part of one of these dumbass trends. Maybe I'm the person they finally need to hear to tell them that, dude, there's so much more to life than buying literal landfill slop everyone's gonna forget in 2 months. Anyways, on to chapter 2.
These are a recession indicator. It's almost like that doom spending that you remember after the pandemic. There were a lot of people that were saying, hey, if I can't afford anything, if you're a Gen Z or millennial, kind of feeling the fatalism of never being able to afford a home, maybe I'll just splurge on luxuries in the now to make myself happy.
But my happiness proceeds to doom spend. So just like with my other videos, I will mention that the economy is rough right now and younger Gen Z is struggling, and I have sympathy for most of my peers going through the trenches. But wow, I can't help but mention that quite a few of my peers are just doing it to themselves. Like, we gotta have some self-accountability here. Like, the most common excuse I hear is, oh, well, it's because the economy sucks that we doom spend. Yay! At least I'm having fun. Go and be boring and save money each month. Well, you have after 1 year. A year of peaceful sleep, that's what I'll have.
Spending argument is a bunch of BS. Gen Z isn't buying expensive things they don't need because I'll never be able to afford a house. They do it because they want to, and that's what they see people maybe around their age.
Also, yet again, we hear the tired excuse of, well, I don't know if I'm gonna make it to 40 from people who have no chronic illnesses, and the statistical reality is most of them will, especially if they don't have any medical conditions and they don't do dangerous hobbies like cave diving or skydiving, right?
Seeing these videos lately where the guy is like, I might not even live long enough to get to the age of retirement, and even if I did, I probably wouldn't be able to retire anyway. What's the point in anything? I'm just gonna spend all of my money. Are you all stupid? Getting old sucks. Being old and broke is worse. Invest your money.
Or at least start saving something. We go over to the comment section. I see so many comments now saying $1 million won't mean anything by the time I retire, but $0 also won't mean anything. Something is better than nothing.
Before they know it, most of these MFs in their 20s will reach 40, and they're gonna realize, oh, I actually made it here. Now what? And then they realize they've peaked early and missed their good old days instead of continuing to live the ongoing beautiful journey of life. And that's mad pathetic. Like, generally, I still look forward to the rest of my life. 30 is still young. Like, most humans don't even hit their genetic peak until 35. I'm tired of people acting like it's all over when their teenage years or 20s are over. There's so much more to look forward to in life. My problem isn't people genuinely enjoying what they spent on a single hobby, but rather people pretending to enjoy life by getting multiple hobbies that they don't even like that much as they spraying themselves into oblivion by doing 5 things at once, blacked out drunk, drugged up the wazoo, surrounded by friends they don't even like, and they don't even remember these nights.
I met a cycle that feeds itself.
Actual clown buffoonery. A lot of these MFs who get themselves into massive debt going into Disney World, various conventions, and waiting on midnight releases, all to buy this consumerism slot from multi-billionaire, sometimes 100-billionaire companies, are way less happier than you and I ever will be. And they may not realize it in the moment, but they do realize it when the high finally wears off, and especially when the trend finally dies and no one wants their slop anymore.
How much do you think you spent here in the last year?
I'm gonna go $4,350. That's pretty bad.
14,000. Shut up.
Like, I used to know multiple people from former friend groups who spent more on their anime figures and card collections than most people do on a house down payment. I cannot fathom that still to this. Like, my value of money won't let me do that. Now, huge disclaimer, I do want to mention again that it's okay to still have hobbies that you enjoy, like going to card shops and conventions to socialize. That's more than fine. I don't want to sound like some doom pillar who thinks being at home all alone forever is a good way to live life. Obviously, being a car enthusiast, I have a hobby that mandates me to go outside because I'm not just going to sit in my home and die to carbon monoxide poisoning. I don't care if people call it nerdy. Every hobby to some extent is nerdy. You guys are doing fine if you actually enjoy the hobby. The people that upset me are the people that go obsessively and they only go to spend cash because they don't actually like the hobby. They like the dopamine that gets injected into their brain each time they buy something. They're just trying to pump their brain full of chemicals. Like, that's the problem. It's like food. Anything is poison given the dosage. Bananas are great for you, but did you know that if you eat 10,000 of them at once, you would die? Like, no shit, right? Like, that super obvious logic applies to hobbies as well. Any hobby in moderation does in fact lead to a happier life, and that's the original reason people used to say, well, I spent X amount of money on a hobby because it makes me feel happy, and if it's reasonable, they're correct with that phrase. However, just like with the brokey epidemic, modern internet culture has taken these phrases and bastardize them in a way where they're just thinly veiled excuses for bad habits. The happiness from the hobby and the community is real, but the happiness from just the item alone isn't.
If I watch another video of a car guy saying that he bought his dream car and now he's tired of it, I'm gonna crash out. Because, bro, let's just be honest, you did not buy your dream car, bro. You bought a hype car. You bought a car that everybody thought was gonna be dope. It was not your dream car. It was everybody else's dream car.
For instance, if someone spent $1,000 on various Pokemon cards to actually play the game and they've accumulated it slowly over the course of like years, right? That person's infinitesimally happier than some loser scalper who just bought one singular card for 10 times the amount just to sleeve it up, box it up, and store it in some vault until he sells it to another loser scalper online for a bit of profit. More money spent does not equal more happiness, and more items owned also doesn't equal more happiness. True happiness always came from how those items were used, and the community that was created around them, and the people you met and shared time with in that hobby. This rolls right into the final chapter. Scalpers and collector culture ruined hobbies, including cars.
I spent $5.3 million on this Pikachu card because Pokemon has outperformed the stock market by 3,000% in the last 20 years. Meaning this is now worth more than all of these watches, these cars, and probably this dinosaur.
I hate that people don't even buy things to enjoy using them anymore. This then deprives the item from being used by people who are actually part of the hobby who wanted to use the item to enjoy the hobby. Also, lock in, car enthusiasts. This is the part of the video where I finally mention cars. I hope you actually watched the rest of the video and didn't just skip here. If you did just skip here, well then go and watch another one of my car videos later to make up for it, okay? Anyways, it's crazy watching the complete death of dream cars. As once obtainable entry-level supercars like Ferrari 360s, Lamborghini Gallardos, and whatnot, these MFs were like 60 to 75 grand in 2017. Same thing of Nissan GTRs. This is another one. Throw that one in there as well. Sure, they're not cheap still, but that's like a fathomable amount of money that you could achieve in your lifetime. So if you saw it as a teenager, you'd be like, oh, I can afford that someday. You don't need it instantly, but it's like a cool thing to look forward to, right? Not when collectors are around, because they swoop in and some of these models even got driven up to $1 million for a V8 supercar. Not even a V12 1 of 500. Like, what are we doing here?
To us car guys, however, we've seen the recent auction results and how cars that were only worth a few $100,000, sometimes not even a year ago, are all of a sudden fetching millions of dollars. That being said, such inflation over such a short period of time doesn't really feel organic, because I don't think there is 4 times the demand for a 360 Challenger Dolly as there was last year. Yet normal debut spec cars have increased in value by nearly a factor of 4 over what rare stripe delete cars in colors other than red were going for in 2025. You're even seeing some examples go for over $1 million.
And even for like mass-produced JDM supercars, like the whole point of a Nissan GTR is that it's a Nissan, and I don't mean that in a demeaning way. It's a Nissan. It's supposed to be reliable and affordable. But now even like JDM's vehicles are costing 150, 180, even 200, 200 grand plus. This is depressing to watch and hear as a car enthusiast, like knowing damn well most of us got into this hobby because of dream cars. Like I always preach that you don't need an expensive car to join this hobby and enjoy it, which is still true, but I would be lying if I said most of us don't still have dream cars and someday dream of owning something nicer someday. It's harder and harder for us to have these now because now they're just shooting up several times over their value because billionaire collectors started buying 10 of them at once, wrapping them up and storing them in underground bunkers, and multiple billionaires or multi-hundred billionaire whales are doing this to multiple of the same vehicle rather to control the purchasing price because they control a large portion of the supply, right? It's basically an investment scheme to these losers. I think this destroys the community. I think this is a kicking down the ladder moment. I feel like this is someone who's already rich and already made it so they can defend this behavior because they continue to profit off it. But it's so anti-car enthusiast to defend this behavior. It is so anti-car enthusiast. And it's not even just supercars either. They've ruined JDM cars, classic muscle cars, and even Porsche 911s, which is a vehicle that's been produced in the millions that used to be neck and neck with Corvette values. This is infuriating on so many levels, watching vehicles that are mass produced now costing more than cars that are sometimes even rarer. It just makes no sense. Like scalper culture never made sense. It's just, but it is somehow at the point where it is so overglazed, people would rather have it over actual rare cars, and they're paying significantly over sticker because it's recognizable, because it literally is. This is what I mean by the simulation. People are just flocking. They're scared to be unique. They're scared to be different. Vinstagram has a whole nother video for this. I'm not just gonna steal his. I'm just gonna link it in the comment, like in the description rather. He can say the topic so much better than I did. I'm tired of this glaze, brother. I'm tired of it. Just drive the damn car. That's the point I've been getting at. Why is everything being treated as a speculative investment nowadays? Aside from massive whales and billionaires, even on the completely broke side of the spectrum, you have MS taking insane loans just to keep up with these new prices. But because they bend over backwards to get these mega glazed cars like JDs and Porsches, even paying, 100 grand over sticker for them, the dealership and scalpers continue to have power over the rest of the community, which further gatekeeps people who want to enjoy this hobby at reasonable financial responsible levels. So I hate the broke people and the people splitting for these cars and these LARPers as much as the rich whale billionaires. They're two sides of the same coin where they exist because of supply and demand. If we collectively stop buying things at these scalp prices, then scalping inherently doesn't work. And that works for every other hobby too. And the same goes for trading cards. When Pokemon Go exploded and revived Pokemon interest for Gen Z, we were trading these at lunch tables in school and messing around with them because that was the point. We also didn't speculate over values of the cards and we traded with each other. We just said, I like that Pokemon, you like this one, let's trade. Then Logan Paul did the thing, and then COVID happened, and then prices shot up since, and hell, every single hobby post-pandemic has not been the same since. I genuinely cannot wait for a recession, as f***ed up as that sounds, since we genuinely need a market collapse in all categories to reset everything. I want everything to crash so people can enjoy hobbies at reasonable prices again, for all hobbies. This happened to Beanie Babies, it happened to Funko Pops, and it happened to Labubus last year. These are just microplastic slop at the end of the day. If it's happened to multiple goods so far, it'll happen to all the future goods later, and I cannot wait till that happens. The consequences of their own actions. These losers scalpers will never get any sympathy from me. Anyways, that's all folks, so subscribe for more weekly epidemic slop, like this video if you hate scalpers, and share it to your friends who also hate scalpers. Thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all next time. Bladed Angel out.